I was teaching a class just the other day and had, I don't know, just 36, I think, 40 folks in the class, and asked them a question. I ask this question a lot, and I'll just share with you the poll question that I asked, and you can see the results of the poll. So let's move over to this screen real quick. And for those of you listening, you're driving your car, you're not watching us on YouTube, just know that we're on YouTube. So if you go onto YouTube and search Appraiser eLearning, you will find our channel. And in fact, if you're watching us via that right now, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'd like for you to subscribe, and then you'll be in the know when we have a special edition or breaking news podcast. So if you're watching, you can see it on the screen, and that's one of the benefits of watching the program instead of just listening to the program, because we put visuals up, and I'm going to have a couple of guests in a minute, and you're going to want to see them. They're real pretty people. Anyway, here's the poll question. Are you a member of any appraisal association? Now, when I ask that question, I qualify it and I say, I don't care if it's a national association. I don't care if it's a state association or coalition. I don't care if it's a group of appraisers that get together, on a monthly or quarterly basis. And there's a group down in Cookeville that does that on a regular basis, and I tip my hat to them. You're going to meet a representative of another group that does that on a regular basis here in a moment. But when we asked this question, look at the answer that we got. 61% of the appraisers, at least in this class, there were 36. 61% said, no, I'm not a member of anything. Only 39% said, yeah, I'm involved in something. And this is not an uncommon response. Normally, we range from anywhere from 55 to 70% of the appraisers in attendance aren't affiliated with anything. And that just makes me sad. You've heard me many times say that my mother's Red Hat Club was more organized than appraisers. Motorcycle clubs are more organized than the appraisal community. Look at all the motorcycle rallies that you see across the United States. How often are you around other appraisers? Generally, historically, it's been when you take your CE class, and that's pretty much it. And guys, I really believe if we come together as appraisers, we can get good things done, both from a legislative standpoint, a regulatory standpoint. We can get things done. I served on the consensus committee that rewrote the ANSI standard. There's no question in my mind that the consensus committee changed their position on a particular issue because of the 44 comment letters they received, 40 of which on one particular topic. I was the only one that voted no. And then another appraiser jumped on, I think it was Bryan, jumped on my side, voted no. They basically told us to be quiet. This is how the consensus committee is moving. So it wasn't because of myself. It wasn't because Bryan jumped on with me and voted no against everybody else. It's because people got involved. So when we come back, we're going to have a conversation about two other folks that have gotten involved recently. I'm very glad they have. And we're going to learn about what they have gotten involved. What have they gotten themselves into? We'll talk about it when we come right back. Hi, this is Bryan Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you as always by the great folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education? Check us out at appraiserelearning.com. We've got a whole list of courses on the calendar, so you're not going to want to miss those. We've got a really important course coming up, the Appraiser's Guide to the New URAR. And if you haven't got your head around that yet, please do some self-educating or come over and take our class. We've got one coming up the beginning of June. We'll also be presenting that at Val Expo in Las Vegas. Love to see you there. And we'll also be at the Appraisal Summit back in Vegas after that. But I'd like to bring in my first guest, Mr. Jarrett Hardesty. Welcome, Jarrett.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bryan.
So before we get into you giving me a gentle nudge and okay, a hard shove, I guess is what it really was. Tell the listeners and or viewers a little bit about Mr. Jarrett Hardesty. Jarrett.
So I'm Jarrett. Of course, I'm a residential appraiser here in the state of Kentucky. I've been doing this, gosh, 20 plus years, and it's just I've seen the industry change a ton, and it's one of those things of like it's been good to me. So I'm just at 20 plus years. I don't know how many more years I got. I've got several, but I want to leave a mark on my way. So that's kind of who I am and what I'm about, essentially.
So let's talk about that mark for a minute. I believe was the first time we met in person at a conference, or maybe no, you took a class from me. Yeah.
I took a class several years ago. I took a appraiser trainee class very long time ago in Owensboro.
Oh gosh, that was a long time ago. That's probably where Kelsey was at. That same class, I scooped her up. She's been with me ever since. So we did bump into each other at a conference though, and
it was the AXE conference in Colorado Springs 2 years ago.
Okay. And just tell the listeners, set the stage as to what you approached me about, and really, in part, why we're here today talking.
Well, I think when you look at Kentucky, so Kentucky especially, I mean, this is looking, out here is, we have had, in my mind, probably one of the better appraisers in the country in a long time, especially when you talk to your peers in other states, and we've kind of gotten away from that. I don't know if it's a policy shift or what's happened there, but used to you could call up and you could be like, "Hey, I'm working on this. I'm having trouble with this. How would you get to it?" Now it's just kind of like, "Yeah, sorry, we can't help you." And so I think we're in a point, and I think it's not just Kentucky, but when you look at the industry in general, as technology and everything advances, so does policy. And if we're not careful, all of our policy is going to be written for us and given to us, and it's not going to be biased. And I think, it's kind of like if we can do something, that helps us at Kentucky, that helps, maybe that helps Indiana or Tennessee or West Virginia, because, policy kind of drifts around. And, good ideals is not just going to come from me or from you or Chris. It's, it comes from everyone. And I think, if we can collectively do something and stand up for our profession in the state of Kentucky, maybe that helps another coalition somewhere else.
Yeah. So Jarrett gave me a push. He said, Kentucky needs an association, and we had one, and they did good. But the problem with an all volunteer association is it's full of volunteers, and it's hard to find people willing to give back, as you said. Leave a mark, I believe was your comment, right? So they kind of had this going, a roller coaster. You got 100 members, you got 5 members. You got 25, you got 100, right? And so that one hasn't been real active over the past many years, and I tip my hat to Marvin and the group that really did a great job in keeping that up. But when something's dead, you just probably need to let it die and start anew. And so that's kind of what we did. And Jarrett, being a little modest, he and I pitched in a little money, and we got this thing going. So it wasn't long that I got a call from my buddy Clay Wells down in Bowling Green, and he said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody." And right now, I want to introduce you to him as well, because I'm glad he's joined our team to try and really make a difference for the Kentucky Appraiser. Mr. Chris Stewart, thank you for being here today, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Bryan.
Before we really get knee deep in this conversation, why don't you take just a second to let my viewers and listeners know a little bit about Mr. Chris Stewart?
Sure. I'm an appraiser primarily in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I do commercial and residential work. I'm on my 25th year.
That's great.
I guess I'm one of the few people that really love the appraisal of real estate, along with Bryan.
So I tried to rope Clay in, and he joined. He's a member now, and but he just said I don't have the bandwidth to really. I don't want to say I'm going to do something and then not be able to give it, the attention that it needs. And I do appreciate that. If don't volunteer for something if you can't have the time to do it. And sometimes people will have good intentions and jump in, and then they're like, oh gosh, this is more of a commitment than what I thought it was, and they need to exit gracefully, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd rather you do that than continue to fill a seat and you're not gonna do anything, right? So Chris has been fabulous. He's gotten heavily involved. I got a little echo there. Somebody hit a button. But so let's talk about this a minute. And before we really get into the association that we're all members of here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and what we're trying to do and encourage others to do as well. I mentioned there's a group of appraisers down in Cookeville, Tennessee, and they get together, whether it be for lunch or dinner or a cocktail or whatever the case may be. We did that in Owensboro for a while. We called it the Breakfast Club, and Miss Shirley Worth had that, and we'd meet one Saturday a month. And there were only a handful of us. It was the FHA appraisers, and we'd trade first pages of the report and just talk about physical characteristics, not confidential stuff. And maybe we shouldn't have done that. We didn't know any better. But many years later, Carol Hayden said, "Hey, Bryan, why don't you resurrect that old Breakfast Club?" And I said, "All right." And we did. We sent an email out, and we met at the Executive Inn, for those that remember what the Big E was here in Owensboro before it was imploded. And we had about 30 appraisers show up. I about fell out of my chair. And we did that for about a year. And then I'm like, all right, who's ready to take the lead in this? And nobody took the lead, and it kind of fell apart. But Chris, you guys got something going on. So talk a little bit about that. You guys aren't an official nonprofit. You don't have any, you're not a company or a corporation. Tell us a little bit about your group there in Bowling Green. How often do you meet, and what it's all about?
Bryan, I found over time, appraisers aren't really good at socializing. We tend to be introverted people, so we all kind of stay to ourselves. Most people, like your poll, aren't affiliated with any organization, which I think people ought to be, but that's a whole nother discussion. And I found that very few of us know each other. And, not that we need to all be boon companions, but it's nice to, if say someday I'm far too busy to take on an assignment. Well, hey, there's Clay over there. So what I did, you were just talking about Clay Wells, Clay and Nick McWhorter. We know each other in the industry, and I texted both of them, and I said, what would you guys think about getting just a group of appraisers together to meet, say once a month, once a quarter, something. At that time, I had no idea. So they said, hey, that's a great idea. So I started just compiling an email list of people near Bowling Green and sent out an email saying, hey, what would you guys think about meeting for coffee one day? And most people texted back, say, yeah, that'd be great. When? So about once a month on Wednesdays, we'll meet for coffee or lunch. We're not so deep that we're not afraid to meet for supper. Just anything, just get to know one another.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, back in the day, appraisers, to your point, they were very just kind of in their own little world, right? I'm in I'm in my basement, or I'm in my cubicle, and leave me alone, my den. And appraisers were reluctant to reach out to other appraisers. I've never understood that, but it's like, well, it's my competition. I don't want to tell all my secrets to my competitor or whatnot. But we can be friendly competitors, right? And many times, like you said, you might refer something. I talked to Clay recently on a case, and I'll reach out to an appraiser and say, hey, what do you think on this, or what do you think on that, or how have you ever had this happen? And try and just have that synergy and thought process. But I get a lot of referral work from other appraisers. And quite frankly, and if you're a residential appraiser, and I'm a residential appraiser too, we all are, but I do commercial as well. If you're a residential appraiser and you get a call to do a commercial, don't just say, don't do that and hang up. Call, so you can refer that to someone, and then likely you're going to get a referral back at some point. Or we can actually pay referral fees. I don't know if you realize that. It is perfectly ethical to pay something in order to procure an assignment. That says so in the ethics rule. It's just that you have to disclose that. That's it. So it's a money-making opportunity for you, as opposed to just saying, oh, I don't appraise C-stores, thanks, bye. Refer that over to a competitor, a friendly competitor, and you may just get a referral fee out of that. Let's talk a little bit about specifics with regard to KAA. So, how long, either one of you, Jarrett, how long's KAA been around? We're talking about the Kentucky Association of Appraisers. We made the name short and sweet and easy to remember. KAA, Kentucky Association of Appraisers.
I feel like it was Monday. No,
almost.
Right. I think are we 45 days old?
We're really new. Yeah, we're less than 60 days officially to be an association.
We'll go with 45 days on May 20th, and give or take. So yeah, this is very new, and this is very much building the plane as we're flying. And you know, if I could say anything about us being new is the people that we have that are on the board so far, and the people we have put around us, is we have a lot of experience, a lot of good people. So it's not the Jarrett show or Bryan show by any stretch, but it is essentially the Kentucky Association of Appraisers show. And so,
right,
I'll leave it at that.
So we're real excited. We launched this out like Jarrett said just a couple of months ago. We're brand new. If you're a Kentucky appraiser, we'd love for you to find out a little bit about us and join, and not just join, get involved. You don't have to be a Kentucky appraiser to join the Kentucky Association of Appraisers. You just got to be an appraiser to get the appraiser membership. To give you an example, I'm a member of the Association of Texas Appraisers, ATA. I'm a proud member of ATA, and I don't reside in Texas. So Chris, we asked you to serve on a committee recently, and you jumped in head first, or maybe you were pushed in the deep end. I don't know. But talk about the committee that you're chairing and what the goals of that committee are.
Sure. I'm the chair of the Government Affairs Committee, and our charge is to really keep a pulse on things, on legislative things or things happening in the industry that affect Kentucky appraisers. We need to know what they are. We need to be able to help our members navigate problems that come up or situations that come up, legislations that's coming, that's going to get imposed on us, like Jarrett said. If we don't have a voice at the table, it's just going to happen to us. Yeah,
that's a great point. You know, Montana just passed a great law for Montana appraisers. Congratulations, Montana. Colorado just passed an amazing law for the Colorado appraisers. Good job, Colorado. Oregon passed a law a year or so ago. Utah passed a law a year or so ago. Yay, Utah. How's that help us in Kentucky? It doesn't. So those states that I just mentioned got really great laws passed that benefit the appraisers within their states. You get involved. If you're in a state and you don't have an association, create one. Create a little meeting club like Chris has got over there in Bowling Green, and you can get good things done. So Chris is chairing the Governmental Affairs Committee. We're going to have our first meeting next week. I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about things that need to be done. Maybe we look at that law that Montana just got passed and think about using that as a blueprint for us here in the Commonwealth, right? There are positive things that we can do as practitioners other than just sit around and complain all the time. So I want to share the website just in case anybody watching right now is more interested and want to get involved. First of all, you can just search Kentucky Appraiser Association, Google that, and you'll find where you can click on that. The actual website is currently ky-appraisers.org. I think we'll lose the hyphen at some point. For some reason, we had to have that in there. So Kentucky-appraisers.org. That gives you to our homepage here. And I'm not going to go through every page, but we've got a page here that lists out the current board members. We've got an alternate board member. Jarrett just let us know. Association information. I am going to click on the membership tab. This is a couple of networking events we've had, and we're looking at doing more of those across the state. Membership, this is your membership opportunity right now. The annual membership due is going to be $125 a year, and that's for a licensed or certified appraiser. We have an affiliate member. If you're a non-appraiser and you'd like to join and be involved, we'd love to have you. And then we have an associate member, and that's specifically for trainees. In the Commonwealth of Kentucky, our trainees are licensed and called associate appraisers. And so that's why we went with associate member there for our trainees. And then for a limited period of time, we have the charter membership. And that's a one-time fee of $250. Then your annual fee would drop down to the $125. That window is going to close. That's just for a short period of time, and you'll be recognized as a charter member of the Kentucky Association of Appraisers into the future on, forever. That just is, you're trying to help us. You're trying to, give us a little jump start, and you, as a consequence, would be recognized as a charter member. So we certainly appreciate that. Jump over to kyappraisers.org or just Google Kentucky Association of Appraisers and check out that website. We continue to update that on a regular basis. Jarrett, talk a little bit about the little meet and greet we did there in Bowling Green. Then we had another one in Louisville, and we're looking at doing more of those across the state. What was that all about? How many people showed up? That kind of thing.
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot with numbers. Did we have 20?
We just under 20. Yeah, we had almost 20 folks.
And so what that was is the association basically put together this meeting, and we're trying to get people together. And I think the more communication we have about just the different things, maybe it's things you're dealing with or things you're seeing in the industry, and all this affects us differently, different business practice. But it gives us a chance to talk to you guys and see what's going on, and see how kind of what that looks like for you. And it also lets us take those conversations back to Chris at the Governmental Affairs Committee and say, hey, we're getting a lot of feedback on this, or whatever the case may be. And there's things that, as we talk to you guys and hear what the struggle is, it lets us kind of rally around the mass, if you will, and try to leave this profession in a little bit better position, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Chris, you were there. You were at both the meetups. Bowling Green, we couldn't get people to leave. I think after it was over, there were still about 6 or 7 of us still sitting around. Some folks got coffee at that point. I got I think an Irish coffee, but nevertheless, I had a coffee, and people were talking shop. After the event was. The time that it was scheduled was over, right? I mean, you were one of the ones we couldn't get out the door.
Oh yeah, and then after that, there was the after meeting. Me, Clay, we were out talking in the parking lot.
Oh no, forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. Louisville, we didn't have quite the numbers that we had in Bowling Green, but we still had a pretty good turnout. Marshall drove up from Frankfort. You came up from Bowling Green. And we're getting a lot of interest. A lot of appraisers are excited and wanting to get involved, and so we're tickled to death with that. We actually didn't think that one through. We had that event at the time of the Derby week, so it probably wasn't a good time to have that one. But we're looking at doing some other events. What do you guys think? And I'm guys. People that watch my podcast or listen know that there's no script here. We didn't rehearse. I think I contacted you both. Wasn't it this morning that I said, "Hey, jump on a podcast"? Yeah. So sorry about that. But my listening base knows that these are just conversations and they're recorded. They could go in any direction. We don't have a script here. We're just kind of winging it. So. I know we didn't talk about having this conversation on the air, but what do you think? I mean, are we going to have other meetups around the Commonwealth? Are we going to have a golf scramble? Or we want to get some positive things done that last into the future for the practitioner here in the Commonwealth. But we can have fun at the same time doing it. So what are your thoughts, Jarrett? What are your thoughts, Chris, on other things we can do to get the appraisal community to come together?
Well, I think, and I'll go first, Chris, and I'll let you follow me up if that's okay. I think one of the things that I would say is, like, one, we're having meetings, and if you want to get involved, just reach out. And most of our meetings are right now via Zoom just because of logistics. Mm-hmm. But we would love to do town halls and maybe try to do town halls, not necessarily smack dab in the center of the state, maybe do one in Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, and Northern Kentucky, and kind of come to you guys, just so that we can helps see what different parts of the state deal with different things. I guess is what I'm trying to say, and see how we can help you guys. So I think the more we get together, the better. I think it's kind of we're in my opinion, an interesting time in the appraisal industry that appraisers are now starting to talk to each other. And when I got into the business, a little bit after Chris, is like, everybody's like, no, you don't talk to the other appraiser. Now we're seeing, people are a little more willing to talk to each other. And I think it's time that we do something and do something better for the industry. But more importantly, we just got to get together and help each other.
Okay. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Sure. I know you suggested a golf scramble, and that's a fantastic idea. What about getting together for one of those axe throws? Maybe a clay pigeon shooting.
Now you're talking. You're talking about talk. Give me a gun or a sharp object I can throw around. I think that's a great idea. So these are all things that we would like to try to figure out. We need some help. We need some help. The more volunteers we have, the more we can get done, the more we can get accomplished, right? And one of the things that Jarrett had talked about is being a watchful eye. Let's get a representative or several of us to attend the Kentucky Real Estate Appraiser Board meetings. What are they doing? They're spending our money. So I said in the last meeting, we're trying to make a concentrated effort, Zoom. We're trying to make a concentrated effort that at least one of the board members or several of us attend those meetings, that we see what's going on, that we try to have a voice at those meetings. I'd love for one of us or all of us to go to the ARO conference. That's the Association of Appraisal Regulatory Officials, right? What are they doing? Yeah, that's on a national level, but guys, if they pass legislation on a national basis, it's going to trickle down to Kentucky, right? So it's going to impact us. We need to keep a close eye on the pulse of the Kentucky legislation, but also on the national level, that's going to impact our appraisers here in the Commonwealth as well. But we need help. Right now, I believe we have 2 board member seats available. So if somebody's watching or listening and they'd like to get involved, they'd like to be in a leadership role, please reach out to us and let us know. And then finally, we need committee members. We need committee chairs, right? Chris, I know you're chairing that committee. I know you've got several folks on that committee already, but we certainly would welcome some additional members at that point. If somebody wants to reach out to you guys, I'm going to grab something. This shows it wasn't rehearsed because I'm getting up and I'm walking away from my desk right now. Oh, I lost the earpiece. So I'll be right back. You guys just go ahead and carry the conversation on like I'm sitting here. Go ahead, Jarrett. Chris, you're in charge for 2 seconds.
I think you said Chris is in charge. If you want to get a hold of me, you can email me at Jarrett. It's spelled just like my name on the bottom of the screen at HardestyAppraisals.com, or you can just look me up on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you look me up there, you can message me there. It's easy. It's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me, or email. It's Jarrett at HardestyAppraisals.com.
I'm similar. Mine's just my name, Chris.Stewart at BrantleyAppraisal.com, and appraisal singular. So I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm not as active as I ought to be on LinkedIn, but I am there.
Okay, what did I miss?
Oh, we don't want to know.
Did I miss it? Y'all didn't talk bad about me, did you? All right. So I got a box, and I hope I picked up the right box. Guys, if you want to serve on a committee, if you want to join KAA, go to the website. You can click right there, Join KAA. Here's a great email address, info@KentuckyAppraisers.org. So if you'd like to join a committee, if you'd like to inquire about the board seat, reach out to us. There's a phone number. It's a Kentucky number. Probably reading because I'm in Texas. It's 270-883-1277. Again, info@KentuckyAppraisers.org. That's how you can get in touch with any of the folks on the screen, in addition to the contact info I think they just gave you. Where's my knife?
Ron, as you're opening that up, do you mind if I rant for a moment?
Go right ahead.
I'd like to encourage everybody, whether you're listening or watching, God help you if you're watching, you got to see my ugly face, but get involved with some kind of organization. I'm involved with the Appraisal Institute. I'm involved with the Kentucky Association of Appraisers. I know there's lots of things going on at the Institute right now. Don't want to gloss over that. But they're working hard for their membership. They're working hard for appraisers. The Kentucky Association of Appraisers is working hard for Kentucky appraisers. And like Jarrett said, there's going to be some ancillary benefits for even people that don't live in Kentucky. If you're in an adjoining state, if you're in Indiana, Tennessee, West Virginia, we plan on the Government Affairs Committee, we're going to take what Montana's done well, and we're going to try to do something similar. We're going to take what Utah has done well and try to do something similar. We've got a little bit of help on the state representative side that we're going to try to work for our benefit. And it's going to help Kentucky appraisers. So please get involved.
Absolutely. Two notes on what Chris said. There is obviously big news with the Appraisal Institute right now. There's ongoing litigation with that. There's always two sides to every story. So, we're not using this podcast today to talk a lot about either direction of that. Right, we're going to let the courts let all that play out in the courts. We may talk about some of that in a future episode or more in detail, even. But we're not going to do that today. We do recognize that there is a lot going on, multiple accusations. But again, there's two sides to every story. This is a litigation case, and we're going to let the courts decide how that all plays out. All right, let me show you this. Chris did mention National Association of Appraisers. I'm a past president of NAA. By default, we were able to, and I think any state association or coalition can do that on their first year they form. They can be affiliated with the National Association of Appraisers for free. And they have what's called a Board of Governors or State Appraiser Coalition where they have representation. And what Chris was just saying, let's find out what Montana, how'd they work that magic? I got a copy of the House bill. Chris, I'll be sending that to you for our meeting next week. What did Utah do? What Oregon do? What did Colorado just do that's wonderful for appraisers? Well, I know a little bit, but I don't want to say anything inaccurate, so I'm going to hold that. If you're in those states, reach out to your association and they can share that news with you. But I know it's great stuff for appraisers, and I know a little bit about it. But I have the House bill for Montana. I'm going to send that to you, Chris. The nice thing about that is at the NAA conferences and Appraiser eLearning, we co-host those. They have those meetings, and they talk about what's worked in their state, challenges they have in their state. And we're able to share, just like we're talking about appraisers coming together and sharing and collaborating instead of feeling like you're competitors. You're collaborating. That's what they do in the state appraisal coalition there. So, all right. So I opened a box, and here's what we're going to do. And I don't know how we're going to do it, so you guys help me here. I got a little bit of this stuff on here, and it's a coffee mug, and it says Appraiser on it. So that's kind of cool. And it talks, this is similar to the cups we gave away, Chris, but it's kind of not. I got me one too. I'm going to keep it so you might see me drinking out. So it says Appraiser, nutrition facts, hardworking 1,000%, unrivaled skill 500%, dedication 500%, passion 100%, caring 300%, determination 100%, regret 0%, sleep 0%, and caffeine 110%. So we're going to give one of these away. How do y'all want to do that? If somebody watching or listening sends an email to info@kentuckyappraisers.org and volunteers to be on a committee, how about doing that? If somebody watching volunteers to be on a committee, the first one that does that, and what do they got to say? Mug. Give me a code word. They got to let Rebecca know. What do you think? Give me a black mug. appraiser mug, Jarrett? What?
The code word blue.
Blue? Okay. How about blue mug, even though it's a black mug? So code word is blue mug. So you've gotta send an email, and you can't do this just to get the mug. You gotta be on the committee, and you gotta be willing to work. Okay. So we have various committees. You can check those out on the website or ask for various committees when you send the info. But the first person that volunteers to serve on a committee and use the code word blue mug, we will send you a black mug with the word appraiser and all the nutritional facts on it. All right. Chris, Stewart, Jarrett, Hardesty, thanks so much for joining us today. Listen, if you've got one last closing comment for an appraiser out there that's had a tough time over the last several years, been a little discouraged, business has been slow. Jarrett, what do you say to somebody watching right now? How are we going to do on the future of appraising?
Well, I think this is your opportunity to get involved and especially with a brand new coalition, as far as we go, is make it your own. That we have committees that we need help, and the more we get, the more involved we get inside of our profession, inside of our state. It gives you more opportunity to make this look like you want to live in 10 years. If not, it's going to look like it's going to look in 10 years. You may not like it.
Mr. Chris Stewart, what's your final thoughts on the issue?
Very similar. I will say this. Anytime I've gotten involved with any organization, not just appraisal organizations, it pays you back exponentially more than what you put into it. You've got to put something into it. It takes work, but it'll pay you back.
Well said, my friend. When I go to conferences or meetings with state coalitions, I've spoke down in South Carolina, I've spoken in Washington, I've spoken Arkansas. And I leave there with some nugget of knowledge. Ohio, I've spoke all across the country for various coalitions and associations, and ATA, I'm down there all the time speaking. They're probably tired of me now. But I generally get something from the session, and more importantly, you get those relationships. And those relationships inevitably result in some sort of work. I just had a guy call me today, and I've known this gentleman for a long time. He taught for me for a minute. He said, "Would you be interested in testifying in federal court?" I said, yes, that's what I do. Let's get together. So we had a great conversation. Those opportunities, as Chris said, are endless. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I certainly appreciate it. I know you're both very, very busy. Now get to work at KAA. We'll talk real soon. Jarrett, Chris, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bryan.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to or watching the Appraisal Update podcast. One final note, Chris and Jarrett and I would like to thank Appraiser eLearning. They were gracious enough to sponsor our little meetups that we had. We called it Comps and Cocktails. What a cool name. And Appraiser eLearning gave the Kentucky Association of Appraisers some financial support to have those events. So a special thank you to Appraiser eLearning for doing that. You've been listening to the Appraisal Update podcast. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're taking a little break, but most importantly, I hope you're making some money, getting clients, and the business is starting to flow in. I know just today we got a lot come in the door, so I hope that's happening to you as well. Until next time, for Jarrett Hardesty, Chris Stewart, I'm your host, Bryan Reynolds. Happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.